Chartered Accountants of Australia think the cash ban doesn't go far enough. Let's have a look. Hello everyone, Florian Heise here and welcome to another episode of Heise Says. I have my stein of evening coffee and I thought we would have a look at this article from the ABC. It's an opinion piece from a senior accountant from the CAA, which is the Chartered Accountants of Australia. And they don't only support the cash ban, but they think it doesn't go far enough. So this is by Susan Frank. So let's have a look. And see if anyone is at all surprised. So this day and age, where you can pay your bills on a watch, it's getting harder to defend the use of cash, which is more prone to use for illegal activities. Okay, anything can be used for illegal activities. This is the same line they're saying about crypto, isn't it? Gold can be used for illegal activities. I mean, come on. You know, how many news reports do we need to see of police displaying piles of ill-gotten cash? Well, how many news reports do we need to see of corporations using dodgy accounting practices to shift cash overseas? Anyway, the anonymity of cash ensures those participating in the black economy remain under the radar. The proposed ban on cash transactions of $10,000 or more with fines and jail terms for transgressions will make it more difficult to operate in the black economy, and it's just one part of a broader strategy recommended by the Black Economy Task Force. Okay, if you are using cash to commit a crime, do you think it's going to make any difference? Seriously, you're already undertaking illegal activity. It won't make a difference. This is just going to force more people to use the digital electronic banking system. You know, we'll be forced to use private companies, which are the banks. We won't have that freedom of choice anymore. And I mean, another issue that's never discussed. What about intimate partner violence? What about people who are trying to get out of those situations and they can't just mass withdraw cash or do a run or don't have access to that? But the proposed 10,000 limit doesn't go far enough, and it should eventually be reduced, as envisaged by the Black Economy Task Force. Other countries have much lower cash payment limits. A study by the European Commission indicates the most effective thresholds are much lower, around €1,000. Yeah, and what do those countries have? How many of those countries, the EU has, you know, how many of them have negative interest rates? Okay, that's another thing. You mentioned this. You're concerned with the cash ban. People look at you like you're a nutter, and they're saying it's all a conspiracy theory. We just want to stop the black economy. You know, those tradies doing those cashy jobs and only, you know, reporting every fifth one. Oh, that's going to cause a whole lot of damage to the economy. Here's another point. This money is going to keep flowing around. It's going to keep flowing around the economy. It'll create employment and keep stimulating the economic system. Once it gets in the government hands, how much of it is pissed away in inefficiencies? It's not as efficient. But Europe, they've got all negative interest rates now. It's starting. And this is theoretical monetary policy to have harsh negative interest rates you're coming from the IMF. And if you don't have the capacity to use cash for large payments, you can't counter this. Or even then, if they just set a two monetary system, even using cash for payments isn't going to be a buffer to that anyway. So it's also unclear why there's such a strong reaction to the restriction on cash use, because it is a fundamental freedom that we have. It is the state taking away one of our liberties. That's what it is. That is the reason. Okay? It's that bloody simple. We want to have our freedom. We want to have our right to choose. We want to be able to go and buy a car with 20 grand cash that you saved up. People want to have that right. It's that simple. Why not embrace the ease and speed of online financial transactions? Because just because you're happy and it's your opinion doesn't mean it is the opinion of everyone else. Just because you're an accountant doesn't mean you have any extra capacity to make a judgment call on this. No more than any other person. What about the elderly? What about the people that have a great deal of difficulty budgeting? Down to $1,000, €1,000, 1,000 Australian. Or you can't even buy a laptop, a decent one, for $1,000. I can go to a bookshop. The books here, architecture books, they're more than $1,000 just on my little bookshelf there. They're bloody expensive books. A camera, you know. Okay, not a Kindle, but you know what I mean. I don't really have much here that's worth much money. My iPhone. You couldn't even buy an iPhone with cash. And, you know, if you buy... just buy a credit card, Florian. You know, easy, and pay that extra 3% commission. And then give that data to MasterCard that they can on-sell for marketing purposes. Okay? Why carry more than $10,000 of cash when the downsides are so obvious? The threat of theft and potential personal harm, security costs, and the time and effort involved in counting, reconciling, and banking it. Because it is a freedom and a choice that people can do. Cash not accepted signs are appearing in an increasing number of businesses. Even some leading charities now use tap and give terminals. So black economy, not a fair go. At the risk of channeling Prime Minister Scott Morrison, many honest Australians, especially those in small business, are not getting a fair go because of the black economy. The black economy, people who are operating entirely outside the tax system, is estimated at $50 billion, or 3% of GDP. This is larger than Australia's entire budget deficit, which varied from 1.9% to 2.4% of GDP between 2015 and 2017. Okay, why is it that every online service or everything, you know... have you ever bought something from Apple? Have you ever bought something from Apple and gotten the email sent to you from the Apple shop, like at Robina or somewhere, I don't know, your nearest Apple shop? And have you noticed where it's coming from? You notice the address? You see the word Ireland in it? You know why that's happening? Because it's getting shifted. They're using accounting practices to shift the revenue offshore, to pay at a cheaper tax rate. I don't give a crap about this, about, you know, cashies. It's completely insignificant. Completely insignificant to these other strategies that are being used to mitigate tax, that have a much greater impact. And that's being driven by a lot of accountants and a lot of the big accounting firms, to be honest. You know? So what if a couple of tradies, you know, if 3% of the GDP is in a black economy where the money's just flowing around? And it's not the small business and fair go. I can tell you now, more of it's to do with the red tape and BS that the government is putting on us. And I'm an architect. I never have done a cashier in my entire career in my small business. I can't. I'm talking big sums for some of our jobs, and even the smaller ones. People want to pay, you know, over direct debit, which is fine. But you know, people still should have the right to spend their money like they want. So, in our tap-and-go payment economy, the ATO and law enforcement agencies still see businesses offering mates rates for cash. Workers paid cash under the table, while most of us have tax withheld every payday and cashed-up individuals claiming government benefits. That's got nothing to do with this. That's got nothing to do with this at all. None of that crap you're talking about has got anything to do with this. That's still going to happen. And the government has systems in place to track all of this stuff. Worried about the level of service in the state or territory where you live? GST collections are also undermined by undisclosed cash transactions. Okay. Maybe we need to reduce the amount of government spending. Maybe we need to reduce government. Okay? Because this is people's individual money. The government doesn't have a right to it. They have to earn the privilege of getting it from us. And even then, it's questionable. How much of it is pissed away on garbage? On inefficient programs? How much money has been spent to bridge the gap with our Indigenous Australians and has achieved bugger all? So, you know, government ain't the best at running things. It's real simple. If it's not your money, you don't take care of it. And if it's not even physical, it's going to be even worse. So if, as a community, we want to reduce unfair competition, ensure all earnings are disclosed to the ATO, direct government assistance payments only to those who deserve a helping hand, and bolster GST collections, then we need to actually do something about the black economy instead of just whinging about it. Wow. Yeah. See, this is the thing. You're going to have your accountant stopping you in. You're going to have accountants working for the government, and I bet you they'll soon implement rewards, from financial rewards from the ATO. If you dob someone in, who does a cash, over $10,000 cash payment, you'll probably collect a bounty for it. What do you reckon? Maybe I'm just theory crafting there, but I mean, look at this. She'll dob you in. It'll probably be part of the code of ethics of the CAA, Chartered Accountants of Australia. So cash is going out of circulation. That's another big problem. The time is right. Data from the Reserve Bank of Australia tells us the use of cash is rapidly diminishing, with the number of cash payments almost cut in half between 2007 and 2016, from 69% to 37%. But despite this decrease in cash usage, you may be surprised to learn that there's been an increase in cash storage, particularly high denomination notes. An extremely conservative RBA estimate is that $1 billion is warehoused by the black economy, with a further $5 billion used for operational purposes that represent up to 8% of banknotes in circulation. Okay, what is the actual economic impact of this money being used in this part of the economy? What's the difference? If it keeps moving around. I'd like to see a real study on that, not just saying, oh, it's me cash, me tax dollars. So what? What happens if the government could claim tax on that, or get every single penny of it? What would that money be used for? It wouldn't pay down the debt. Just get pissed away on more crap, and then probably buy the government using it that incur more debt along the way. So it's probably better to keep it in the black economy. Bloody hell. Leaving aside the dodgy end of the spectrum, the people who use cash the most, according to RBA research, those who reside in regional Australia, the elderly and poorer members of our community. Setting the bar at $10,000 makes it unlikely the ban will adversely affect these groups. Yes, but you want to bring it down to €1,000. You've already said that before, and it'll change. The way the legislation is set up, it will change. And for those living outside the big cities, the draft legislation has exemptions for exceptional circumstances. Oh, yes, so they've got exemptions. What do you think the process would be to fight that? You may need to go to court to fight that. That's the problem. They can put this legislation in place and have all these exemptions, but the actual process and pain of going through to get that exemption can be worse than getting punished. It's just dealing with lawyers and the whole legal system. Normal people don't want to deal with that crap. With the potential to address the lack of internet coverage in some regions, which can impede digital transfers. Yes. Yeah. Opponents of the 10,000 limit argue the proposal is Orwellian in that it bans the use of legitimate currency and exposes people to criminal sanctions. Some of these examples they use are wrong. Well, no, it doesn't. You've just said there's legislation in place. For instance, the proposed law will not impact on the ability of businesses to deposit daily takings exceeding $10,000 in cash. Yes, but they will stop a business from making any cash transactions in one instance or over a period of time with multiple payments for $10,000 in cash. Yep. Okay. Who gives a shit about putting the $10,000 takings in? That's irrelevant. That's a deposit. Oh, still, that's not the example that anyone worries about. Who cares? Whoop-de-doo. You're just trying to make a point there. So I'm not impressed with this. The opposing voices should outline their alternative models if they seriously want to tackle that part of the black economy that deals with cash. I don't want to tackle it. I don't care about it. No. I would suggest we reduce government services and free up more liquidity in the hands of the people who are earning the tax, so they don't need to feel the need to do this type of thing. Why don't we reduce GST? Let's reduce GST to 5%. Why don't we tackle some of the companies that are using creative accounting methods to, headquarter overseas and ship their money offshore? Why don't we address that beforehand? Why don't we just reduce the size of government? So, yeah. Well, how about suspicious cash reports flooding into government agencies? Both seem more Orwellian than a simple outright ban. What the hell? Yeah. Okay. The government is already reporting all on us. Austrac or whatever, up to $5,000 already. It's all getting tracked, guys. You go and buy a gold bar worth $5,000. It's tracked. It's recorded. It's already recorded. We already have processes in place. The problem is this removes a safety hedge and safety valve against rampant negative interest rates in the long term. And it will happen. It will happen eventually. Even if they say it won't, even if they say it's all conspiracy theory, that has the risk. The risk for that can occur. This is what these people are like. Not us, not our children, but maybe the children later. At the moment, the proposed ban will only apply when one of the parties to the transaction is doing so for business purposes. Looking down the track, it could be simpler for Australians and enforcement agencies if the $10,000 cash payment limit applied to everyone, even for private transactions. There you go. It's time for Australian taxpayers and businesses who legally operate within the tax system to rise up and help stamp out tax evasion and money laundering. Coming from an accountant. Money laundering. Just look at the amount of foreign investment into the real estate here in Australia. 2016, look at the amount. You'll be shocked. So guys, there you go. What do you think? What do you think? Is it more Orwellian for the government to track it rather than to just ban it? Do you think we should go down to 1,000 euros? $1,600 like Europe? You think everyone's just being paranoid? So yeah. This is the future where it's heading. This is the future where it's heading. Regardless of if you even use cash anymore. And frankly, I think most people won't. Most people won't. You still want to have the right. Anyway, guys, thank you for joining me for this episode. Like, share, and subscribe. And I'll see you later. Take care.